can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So, a good performance.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost with me, Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. Right, on the show today, Afghanistan crush England to keep their Champions Trophy dreams alive. We look at whether this bunch has it in them to go all the way. From having no money, eating a packet of biscuits to survive the entire day and working as a labourer to keep their hopes of a cricketing career alive, to now becoming world beaters. Afghanistan's fighting spirit is what we celebrate today. Meanwhile, one winner means one loser, and this one has rocked the whole cricketing setup. England have been knocked out of a third consecutive ICC tournament now, as their attitude and the remarks that they made post that whitewash to India come back to haunt them. And speaking of karma, is Manchester United gripped with bad karma? Is the club cursed? Why are players who were discarded for being deadweights flourishing elsewhere? More on that in just a bit, but first a look at the headlines on Sports 360. We'll start with cricket. Pakistan's match against Bangladesh has been washed out without a ball being bowled. The ICC Champions Trophy Group A encounter was abandoned due to persistent rains in Rawalpindi. This is a second washout at the venue and the tournament after the Australia versus South Africa game. With this, both Pakistan and Bangladesh's campaigns have come to an end without winning a single match. Over in the Women's Premier League, Mumbai regained the top spot after beating UP by 8 wickets in a group stage match. Put into bat first, UP were restricted to 142. Nat Skiver-Brunt was the star of the show. After she took 3 wickets while bowling, she contributed with an unbeaten 75 in response while batting. Mumbai chased down the target with 3 overs to spare. On to football, Arsenal dropped points against Nottingham Forest after a 0-0 draw in the Premier League. The draw has dented Arsenal's chances of winning the league. Meanwhile, Liverpool registered a 2-0 win over Newcastle to gain a 13-point advantage over Arsenal in the points table. In tennis, men's world number 2 Alexander Zverev crashed out of the Mexican Open. This after losing to Lerner Tien 3-6, 4-6. It was Tien's second career win over a top 5 ranked player. The 19-year-old also defeated Daniil Medvedev at the Australian Open just last month. And the International Olympic Committee, or the IOC, has granted a provisional recognition to World Boxing Association. This comes after the International Boxing Association, or the IBA, had been disbarred by the IOC over corruption and governance issues. World Boxing is now expected to be the new governing body for the sport. Where can you honestly go from here? The England men's cricket team, think tank, the captain, players and management will all be wondering just that. How did things get to this point where you've now failed in 3 consecutive ICC events, just like the host, Pakistan? Just yesterday, we spoke about England having to face its demons when they took on Afghanistan in a must-win game. They went head-to-head in that contest, but they were undoubtedly outplayed, and the stunned expressions on the faces of the entire England squad during that loss said it all. Now, don't get me wrong, they weren't sitting there unmoving because of that loss to Afghanistan. There is no shock anymore of this country, of Afghanistan, beating any cricketing side in the world. That surprise was more than just for a loss. How did they get to this point? The question I started this story with. You could tell they were surprised by the way they had crumpled to defeat with this one, 6 consecutive times now in one-day internationals. And while it was a collective failure, despite some key contributions, one man bore the brunt of all criticism online, Ben Duckett. Just to help jog your memory, Duckett has managed to irk so many people across the world by choosing to say the wrong things at the wrong time, like this one recently.
If we lose 3-0 to India, I don't care as long as we beat them in the final of the Champions Trophy. If we do that, we probably won't look back on this if we do the business in that competition.
He said those words after England had been thrashed by India in India just before the Champions Trophy. But let's be fair to Duckett. He wanted to show some bravado, and many have fallen prey trying to do just that. So here's one more added to that long list of people. The problem is surely more deep-rooted. It was reflective in the way they prepared for a series in the subcontinent, a series that was the ideal warm-up to an ICC tournament. They were taking it easy, less practice sessions, a few golf trips thrown in between. Jos Butler did his best to defend the psyche and prep of his squad. But the results, of course, spoke louder. They just had not prepared well enough and were caught red-handed.
For England, take playing in the subcontinent seriously with no excuses. Only then you will be recognized as the team that can travel.
Trust Ravi Shastri to drive home the point, something many other voices in cricket are not shying away from making. The biggest critics of any cricketing nation are most definitely their own former cricketers. And they have sharpened their knives and their pens in their post-mortem of what has clearly been a shambolic campaign by a seemingly overconfident England side.
England have felt they will be all right on the night in the last 3 World Cups, thinking they knew how to do it. They used to look like a military operation under Morgan, but now you never quite know what is coming next.
I've never looked at Butler and thought, wow, what a leader. He doesn't have that presence in the field that an Eoin Morgan had. I think it's probably time to move on.
Their cricket is way below the standards which they set themselves. Sometimes you just have to say it's not working, and therefore it's time for a change.
You can sense their grief shining through all of that anger that's pent up. England headed into this mega tournament on a whitewash, failing to admit there was much wrong in that result. No warm-up games leading up to their opener in the Champions Trophy, taking Australia on and losing to a side that had no Pat Cummins, no Josh Hazlewood, no Mitchell Starc. And just when they thought their pedigree with the bat and a few key men with the ball will surely turn up the heat against Afghanistan, they came up short. The injury to Mark Wood at the worst possible time, though any time during an ICC event probably is, the part-time of Joe Root and, of course, a bit of Liam Livingstone making up the overs was not going to fly. England's skipper facing the heat now, Jos Butler, spoke about India having the unfair advantage in this tournament, playing all their matches in a single venue. England played at one venue, Lahore, and yet couldn't get their house in order and win one game. You see how all this stacks up. Michael Atherton, you have to give it to him. Trust him to always ask the tough questions at any given day. He put Butler on the spot about captaincy, and here's what he had to say.
I'm not going to make any emotional decisions right here, right now. I'll take some time to work that out personally, and the guys in charge will have their own views too. We need to consider all possibilities and get English cricket back to where we should be in white ball cricket.
There is a certain sense of numbness that seems to have come over. This is not the England squad that absolutely ran riot at one point of time. The highs of Basball, a tactic that revolutionized the sport. But strong voices are now ordering Basball to be shut down. Pack that thought away and start afresh. The entire cricketing system here needs a massive sea change in thinking, planning, and only then comes execution. And hopefully, in time for the ICC tournament in India next. England will sharpen their skills and their minds on playing in subcontinent conditions a little better and with more respect. Now, there are very few moments that have emerged from Afghanistan that has won the world over. Their cricket is certainly the cause for all of it. Afghanistan kept their ICC Champions Trophy dreams alive by knocking out England last night. The all-round display saw Afghanistan beating England by 8 runs. A contest that was fought by two equally able sides, with one proving to be the better side. The question now is, can they go all the way? Afghanistan's Champions Trophy debut was mired in controversies. There were calls to boycott the Afghan team entirely. British politicians, South Africa's ministers all wanted their national teams to take a stand against the Taliban regime. And the only way they thought fit was not to play Afghanistan at the ICC Champions Trophy. Of course, all of that talk quelled, as you'd expect. But the Asian side also did not make matters any better. They lost their opening game, the first match, to South Africa, and by a massive margin, making the game against England a virtual knockout. Political turmoil, a do-or-die situation, the weight of a nation that has not seen too much joy, all of this would have added pressure to any national team, let alone Afghanistan. But a fiery 177 from Ibrahim Zadran, their country's first centurion in a Champions Trophy, took Afghanistan to 325, a daunting total. And while defending the score, Azmatullah Omarzai with his fifer and a nerve-wracking final over sealed the deal. The Afghan brigade crushed the very concept of Basball to send England out of the tournament. Massive celebrations erupted from Afghan fans in Lahore. And it wasn't just in Pakistan. Cricket fans in Kabul too were overjoyed. Now, let's be fair here and honest, Afghanistan is no underdog. But to a country that has only seen struggles and challenges, people who don't know what true autonomy feels like, this win was huge. Much like when they defeated the same English side in the 2023 ODI World Cup in India, giving birth to a heady meme fest on the internet. What an insane moment to be a part of for someone like Yunus Khan, one of the coaches of the side. Happiness for anyone associated with Pakistan cricket today is an unknown commodity. So celebrate all you can, Yunus. He's also part of a very eclectic management at Afghanistan that has a former England cricketer for head coach, had a former Indian cricketer for assistant coach, a former West Indian cricketer as bowling mentor. And this Afghanistan team is a sum total of a global effort. There is so much instability and mayhem in their homeland, something they know they cannot control or alter. What they can only do is fight in the manner that they can and know to, playing solid cricket.
They are under no illusions about where they have come from, and they're very courageous. You see that in their cricket, and that's the one thing I've not tried to change at all. They know who they are playing for and representing.
It's a win the world recognized and toasted to, cherished as much as their own fans. Now, a winning mentality that comes from their modest, humble beginnings. Can you believe this young bunch was until a decade ago playing Division 5 cricket? At one point during Afghanistan's initial years in the world of cricket, they were ranked roundabout near the 80s. That was their world ranking. Let me tell you how it works. You have to ensure as a side that you are the top two in every division. pass through Division 5 right to the top before you can even think of contesting in a World Cup. And here's the kicker, you're not paid in any division cricket. For a country that was war-torn, struggling to even make ends meet, making it as an international cricketer had to be the stuff of their wildest dreams. That's the kind of peak every Afghanistan cricketer managed to scale. Here's what a day of a cricketer back then looked like. No money for food, surviving on a packet of biscuits every single day, being a labourer by day and then training later to play in the evening. Some worked in matchbox factories, most worked transporting chickens. At one point, the Afghan cricket team was called Team of Chickens. But guess what? They never chickened out of any fight, which is what they showed last night, which puts them at a position of making it to yet another semi-final of an ICC event. They did that at the T20 World Cup last year, and they have a shot at it once more. Because if you look at how the points table stands, South Africa have just about almost sealed their qualification to the semi-final, even if they lose against England. Afghanistan's next hurdle, of course, is Australia, who are also sitting pretty. Australia and Afghanistan's game becomes a virtual knockout. So whoever wins this match, of course, will be partnered alongside India and New Zealand in that semi-final lineup. Now, if England versus Afghanistan gave you goosebumps, wait for the next encounter. It is sure to be an edge-of-the-seat thriller. Afghanistan has beaten Australia just last year at the T20 World Cup, so this promises to be another high-octane clash. And against a country that has also refused to play bilaterals with Afghanistan. Revenge is surely a dish best served cold, and these Afghans, who, by the way, all know how to cook a decent meal, will surely know how to serve it too. Manchester United are barely managing to keep themselves out of the relegation zone. The side registered a 3-2 win over a struggling Ipswich Town in the Premier League. A massive fall from grace for a club who were once competing for titles. And now United's only task is to somehow stay alive in the Premier League. But that is getting more difficult by the day, especially since manager Ruben Amorim got rid of what he thought were deadweights, players who weren't up to United's standard. Ironically, all of them have seen a massive change in fortunes right after they left Manchester United, which makes me think, was it really the players who brought the club down, or is the club quite simply cursed?
The big tag of cursed has been particularly reserved for one player and major club. For years, that tag belonged to captain Henry Kane and Premier League Tottenham Hotspurs. Both have been mocked for their failure to win trophies. But it feels like the two are facing tough competition from Manchester United. While United may still have won more trophies in the last decade than both Harry Kane and Tottenham, they are jinxed in every possible way now. While big clubs and famous managers are known for touching something and turning it into gold, United are beginning to create an infamous tradition of doing otherwise. In simpler words, what that touch is turning into coal. The ever-critical fan base and pundits associated to Manchester United are known to blame players for the club's downfall. Like the 2024-25 season saw Marcus Rashford facing the heat for his disciplinary issues and a lackluster show, which resulted in an ugly scandal between Rashford and Amorim. Amorim went on to say Rashford's lack of intent was the reason for his absence. It all led to the English forward leaving United and joining Aston Villa. And no surprise, that lack of intent saw a massive revival in Villa. He's not just the starter there, but has also made his presence felt at his new club in the early days. With Rashford in the team, the Villa side have only lost one game. This also included a 2-2 draw against table toppers Liverpool. Still early days to predict Rashford's future, but given by his current run, Rashford is likely to find his mojo at Villa. And Rashford isn't the only one to see this change in fortunes after leaving United. Scott McTominay has been crucial in Napoli's rise this season. They are competing for a Serie A title. The Scot has scored 6 goals and assisted twice. Antony, after making his move to Spain, has scored 2 goals and 2 assists for his new club. Unlike his goalless run with Manchester United, Anthony Elanga has excelled at Nottingham Forest. He's contributed with 8 goals and 17 assists. He now may play Champions League next year. Clearly, United is cursed. Now even pundits who've been closely associated with Manchester United feel this.
You look at Anthony, he's got a man-of-the-match performance and a goal and assist in 2 games. McTominay is playing like primetime Jude Bellingham at the moment. You've got Elanga, who's a flying winger. You've got all these players that are leaving the club that are looking like new, dynamic footballers.
And this pattern has been on for years now. Players who didn't win the league title at United prospered in other leagues. Alexis Sanchez was twice crowned the Italian champion. Romelu Lukaku, who was often criticised at United, went on to win a Serie A title. Angel Di Maria, who had an ugly fallout at the club in 2015, went on to become the French champion 5 times. And the biggest in the list is Gerard Piqué, who won just 1 Champions League under Alex Ferguson, but added 3 more with Barcelona and was the Spanish champion 9 times. United faithfuls, though, defend the curse, saying it's the pressure of playing for the badge.
You've got all these players that are leaving the club that are looking like new, dynamic footballers because the shackles are off, and the cloud and the pressure of Old Trafford, the badge, all that brings, is allowing them to go, you know what, wow, what a difference that is.
Every player plays for the badge, even at clubs like Liverpool, Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern Munich. Every historic club has a legacy to live up to. If the players aren't faltering there, why are they failing at United? Not sure about just the badge effect. United, unfortunately, though, seem to be having the bad effect on every athlete.
Time for last serve. Tuk-tuks have become very popular the world over, so much so that it has gone from being a support cast in events to racing in one. Egypt has now organized a race. What was the fastest 3-wheeled ride? Take a look. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care and bye-bye.
Merci beaucoup. Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Namaste, Mr. President.
Bharat Kelogan, Komeri Namaste.
How many people generally follow you in interviews?
Typically in a month, we have viewers up to 150 million. That's more than twice the population of France. And in the last 2 years, we had 3 billion viewers. So I say, Laurent, this is your chance to be famous. You're on Firstpost. One word to describe your equation with Prime Minister Modi.
Amitié.
As India and France work together, are you creating a new era of non-alignment in the technology space?
India is a training superpower. 1 million engineers a year, more than all of Europe and the US combined. So we have that partnership. We have a partnership on the environment and the economy. We also have civilian nuclear programs. And that is something we've developed far beyond the France-India relationship. So we want to work together on AI.
And then comes China with its DeepSeek, creating models at a fraction of the cost. Did that innovation take you by surprise? Did that breakthrough make you sit up and think, what did the Chinese do and how?
But what did DeepSeek do? They took everything that was already available from the last AI model and then they recalibrated it.
So are you going to ban Chinese AI in France?
So we don't have this American approach of banning tech because of where it comes from.